So let's look at a few examples of the sine, cosine and the tangent taking on two values. So let's start off with, say for example, the sine of 30 degrees. Now if you put that into your calculator, you'll get a value of 0.5. But that's not the only angle that if you find the sine of it will give you 0.5. There's another one. Now remember, we're able to find the quadrant that the sine is positive in, so this is a positive value. So the sine is also positive in the second quadrant, so we've got all sinners take care. So the first sine is in the first quadrant, so that's our 30 degrees. But the second quadrant as well has also got a positive value for sine. So if we were to draw the line here like that, then we could see this height here will be the same as this height here. And remember that sine is given by the y divided by r and the y divided by r. So the y is the same in both cases, so you'd expect to get the same answer. So this angle here then is going to be the 180 minus the 30 degrees, that'll be 150 degrees. So if I put in the sine of 150 degrees, you'll get a value of 0.5. So don't take my word for it, go in and put it in your calculator and see that you get that value. Now we know why it is we've got those values, because whenever we draw in the sine function, we can see here that it goes from 1 to minus 1, and this is an angle of 0, an angle of 360 degrees, and we're at 30 degrees here, so 30 degrees is somewhere round about here. But we know the value, and that's a value of 0.5, so we're just saying this height here is 0.5, but it also crosses this point along here, and that point along there is just going to be the 180, because that's at 180 degrees there, minus the 30, which is 150 degrees. So that one's our 30, and this one here is our 150. So let's look at another one. So let's look at another one as an example. Let's say we looked at the tan of 140 degrees. Now if you put that into your calculator, you got a value of minus 0.839. So again, get your calculator, put that in and see that you do get that. Now we know from our quadrants that in this instance here the tan's a negative value, so they're all positive here. The sine's positive, the tan's positive and the cosine's positive. So for tan to be negative, it must be in this quadrant here or this quadrant here. So the first one here is 140 degrees, which is this quadrant. So that's our 140 degrees here. Now it's also going to be negative in this quadrant here, so we're going to add on 180 degrees onto it, so it's going to be like this here. So we're going to get 180 degrees added on. So if we look at the tan of 140 plus the 180, then we should get a value of minus 0.839. So that's going to be the tan of, so that's going to be 0, 4 and 8 is 12, 2 remains are 1, that's 320. So if you put the tan of 320 into your calculator, you'll get a value of minus 0.839. So we can see that on the graph as well. If we drew the graph, then we know that the tan function looks something like this. So the 140 degrees, well this is 90 degrees here, and that's 180, so 140 is somewhere in here. But we can also draw the line straight across here like this. and it's also the same value at this point along here. And this is the 180 plus the value that you started off with. And you can see why that's going to work, because whenever you come round here, you know the tan function is going to be the y upon x, so the y upon x must be a negative value. So in order for the y to x be a negative value, in this quadrant here, this value here is the y value is negative and the x value is positive, so it's a negative divided by positive will give you a negative value. So let's look at another one. So let's have a look at this example here. Let's say we have the cosine of, say, 240 degrees. Now these are pretty random, I'm just picking these out of my head. So we'll go in and we'll put it in the calculator. So the cosine of 240 is going to be cosine 240, and I suggest you get your calculator out and put these values in. So it's minus 0.5. Now we'll go about this one slightly different, just for learning purposes. Let's say we start off with the actual cosine function. So we know the cosine function looks like this, and this is a value of 1, value of minus 1, and we've got our 0 here, we've got 90, we've got 180, 270 and 360. So where's this 240 going to be? So if this is 180 there, and this is going to be 270, so it must be within this quadrant here. So it's going to be somewhere in here, so let's just put a line down in here. And that's going to give us a value of minus a half. So we'll come along here, and we've got our minus a half here. So that height there is minus 0.5. So we can see the other point where it's going to cross this is going to be over here. So we could draw a line down like this. So we know that this other angle is going to be, well, it's going to be, we could do it as 90 plus this distance. Or if we looked at the other way, we could say it would be 180 minus this distance. So it doesn't really matter what way you look at it, but what we'll do is we'll keep everything as much as we can in terms of 180 and 360. So we'll go to the 180, it's going to be 180 minus this distance here. So let's have a look and we'll see how we're going to find this little distance here. So what I would do is I would draw it out roughly, and again we've got our all sinners take care, and we're interested in the cosine being negative. So the cosine is negative in this quadrant here, and it's negative in this quadrant. So we've already got one of them in this quadrant, which is the 240. Okay, so this is the 240, and we need to find the one that's in here. So we could just draw the line in representing the 240, so it's roughly, let's say it's roughly here. So we're going to have another line that's going to be up here, so that this distance here is the same as that distance there. So if this distance round here is going to be 240, then in order to get there we're going to have 30 degrees, so it's going to be 30 degrees on from 90. So let's affect this one here, so the 90, 100, 120, so the other value is going to be 120, so I go cos 120 degrees should give us a value of minus 0.5. Now as I said, you could do it the other way. You could say we could go from this point here, which is 90, which is 180, and you could take off a certain value. So that's in effect this here. So we're going to have 180, and we're going to be minus this value here. But you can see in this instance it's just much easier to add on from 90 and add the 30 on. So we'll just check this out in the calculator. We'll put in 120, but cosine 120 is equal minus 0.5. So I've seen this done in lots of weird and wonderful ways where people memorise the sine, the cosine, the tangent, and they say, well, if it's a cosine, it's in the first two sine, it's in the first two quadrant, it's 180 minus or 180 plus, and then if it goes into the third or fourth quadrant, it's 360 minus, and then if it's a tan, it's 180, adding 180 on, and people tend to get confused, and it's not the sort of stuff you tend to remember long term. And as I say, when it comes to mathematics, you don't want to be memorising these things. You want to understand what's actually happening. And for me, the best way to understand this is to look at it in terms of the actual function itself and what's happening with the function, and then just drawing it out in a little diagram like this where you've got your all sinners take care, because you can always work out where the other angle is, and you can always be sure that you're going to be right, rather than relying on memorising equations. And as I said, this course is not about memorising equations, it's about trying to gain an understanding. So it's quite strange because people find this is surprisingly difficult sometimes to explain to people, and they tend to get confused in it, but you just need a little bit of practice, that's all it's needed. So you'll get another bit of practice with this whenever you go through the exam at the end, and also the quiz at the end of this section. So thank you for listening, I'll get you next video. Goodbye.